Today we're going to be putting together what I consider to be my ultimate pedalboard build, the culmination of my journey so far into pedals and effects, and what I hope will be my final board for some time. We'll quickly look back at my history with different pedals and builds, how my approach has changed since then and overall, as well as how I decided on everything to do with this particular board and why, as well as hearing some tones after it's all been put together. If you'd like to jump to the finished board or anything else specifically, you can check the timestamps below, but otherwise let's just get into it. I first started properly researching pedals and effects just a little over 2 years ago. I had an old Boss GT10 multi-effects unit which I was never able to quite wrap my head around, and I wanted something that was a little bit more simple for gigs with my band. So using one side of an IKEA box which I heavily modified, a trusty Boss DS1, an Electro-Harmonix chorus which I was borrowing from one of my bandmates, a Behringer vintage delay pedal, and a nice little compact power supply in the Dunlop Mini ISO brick, I put together a small little sturdy pedalboard that worked quite well. But by the time I was done putting everything together, I was ready to take it even further and really go after a great tone and kind of hone in on a unique sound for myself. At this stage, I reached the phase where I felt like I needed every single pedal in the world all at once. So I graduated up to the much larger Pedal Train Classic Junior, and I just threw everything I had at it. In one photo, you can see me using, I think, 5 different drive pedals for a single band gig, which is probably slightly over the top. But I later realized this, so I also picked up a Pedal Train Metro 16, which I tried to use as more of a fly rig and really force myself to be much more decisive and use only the essentials. And it's this decisiveness that set me on the path to where we are today. This new board is the culmination of everything I'm looking for in both tone and function. It's meant to be creatively inspiring, streamlined yet versatile, and an extension of myself. I know exactly what to expect from each pedal and sound and how to best work with it and dial it in. So the board I'm going to be using is this. It's the Templeboard Solo 18. These boards are lightweight, sturdy, and have this amazingly versatile perforated design. One of the main reasons I went with a Templeboard is because of their incredible modular system, which allows you to mount any of the modules they offer directly to the side of your board to customize it in any way that you want. The mods that I'll be using are a 4-way in and out jack and a Cioks High 5 power supply. And as for the size of the board itself, nowadays I tend to hover around 5 to 6 pedals at any given time, and the Solo 18 gives me a nice tidy compact space for that, as well as some room to grow in future should I need it. Now, I'll go through the order and how I use them in much more detail a little later after I've put the board together, but just for a brief rundown of the pedals, I'll be starting with the TC Electronic Polytune 3. For my drive stage, I have the Boss FZ1W Wazacraft Fuzz running into a JHS Morning Glory. I don't have any modulation at the moment because I rarely, if ever, use it. For delay, I have the way huge Aqua Puss. For reverb, the Walrus Fathom, and finally, the JHS Tidewater Tremolo. But alright, let's start putting it all together, and the guys from Templeboard recommend starting with the modules first, so that's what we're going to do. Alright, so now I've got that sorted and I've got all the modules mounted on the sides as they should be. We can move on to the pedals. But before we do that, given how condensed and streamlined the board is, I might wire in everything first before sticking the pedals down. For the patch cables, I've gone with these Free the Tone Solderless cables, which are a little bit pricier, but the quality is definitely there. And the best part about these ones is that you don't need to strip back the insulation. You simply cut, plug it into the heads, and you're good to go. So let's get the pedals into place and try wiring in the Polytune to the Fuzz first. Okay, so everything seems fine with that first cable. I just cut it and tested it and there weren't any problems, so let's continue with the rest. Alright, so the patch cables are done, so we'll move on to power. Now, while I have 6 pedals, I only have 5 outlets on the power supply that I have. But I'm going to daisy chain the Polytune with the tremolo because both of them tend not to be on at the same time, and they're also the least used of the effects on my board, so they should be fine to share a little bit of power. Okay, so I've got everything wired in, so we'll just do a quick power test. Okay, everything looks good, so we can move on to mounting the pedals. To mount the pedals, we're going to be using the Templeboard quick release pedal mounting system, which are these little plates that stick to the back of the pedal and then screw directly into the board itself. This makes a really firm bond between the pedal and the board, which is a lot more secure than conventional Velcro. You're meant to screw the plates to the board and then press the pedals down on top of them instead of the other way around. And beforehand, you should make sure to clean the backs of your pedal to get rid of any dust or residue from Velcro or anything like that to ensure the best stick, as I did earlier today. But alright, let's start with the polytune and I'll get the plates in place. Alright, so I will mount the pedal. And that looks fine. And I mean, you can see how secure that bond is as well. Like you can lift the board with it, you know. Okay, so I will move on to doing the rest of them. Alright, so I just plugged everything in to check the power and to check the sound, and everything's working fine. There's no issues with anything. It all sounds great. Yeah, aside from some cable management underneath, I think we're done. Yeah, alright, so let's hear some tones. So now everything's been put together, let's just quickly run through the pedals, why they're in the order they're in, and how I use them. Excluding the polytune, because I'm pretty sure that's self-explanatory. So first up, with the Boss FZ1 Waza and the JHS Morning Glory, I have all of the different types and levels of gain that I personally need on tap. I use the Morning Glory as an always-on pedal at the end of the drive chain, set just to the edge of breakup. And from that, I control the level and the type of gain almost entirely from the fuzz pedal. I can jump between using the fuzz for an all-out fuzz tone, or I can use it for different types of a clean boost to get more of a distortion tone out of the Morning Glory. And there's also the added bonus of using the Morning Glory second drive stage as a post-drive boost if I ever need one. The Aqua Puss I also leave as an always on because it works fantastically well as just a very subtle underlying presence behind your tone to just give it a bit more life and dimension. The Fathom I use mostly for more ambient stuff and experimentation, but when I pair it with the Tidewater, I love to use it for more kind of spaghetti western style soundscapes. As well as that Creedence Clearwater Revival sound and mood. And yeah, I mean, that's it really. In these pedals, I have all of my favorite sounds as well as a pretty considerable amount of versatility. I know exactly how each sounds and behaves and how to experiment with it. The board itself is simple, neat, and self-contained. I literally just plug everything into the side of it. And I have enough space to grow and expand in future while also being forced to be decisive, which is a condition that I found I make some of my best decisions in. With this board, I feel like I've reached a kind of endpoint, at least for the time being, and it doesn't really feel anything other than awesome. But that is about everything for today, guys, and as always, I hope that there was something useful for you in today's video, something you were able to learn from. If so, do let me know down below, but also let me know about your rig, your board, how you've put everything together and how you use it. Drop a comment below or shoot me a message over on my Instagram, which is linked in the description, because I would genuinely love to hear from you. Apart from that though, thanks for watching, thanks for doing all the usual business to help support my channel and my videos, thanks for sticking around, and I will see you guys in a bit.